Hey everyone, Arthur the Artist here, coming to you from the studio today. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the piece behind me called Qualia. Now, Qualia is a word which means what it is like. So there's moods and sensations that are hard to describe that we might not have language for, and those are often described as qualia. For example, there isn't a word for what it is like to be you. So that would be a qualitative feeling. In this piece, the intention was to describe what it is like. At the time, I had just finished the portrait series, and I wanted to capture the feeling that I had after I had, I felt dropped a lot of dead weight in the portrait series. I was feeling very free, I was feeling very open. I felt like I had a new understanding of myself, and I wanted to capture what it is like. So, this piece, even though I had that intention going in, it evolved very organically. I used to wander my neighborhood a lot when I moved to New Jersey, and I found a Salvation Army there. I'd pretty much go there every week just to see if there was any interesting objects. I found a frame there that was nice and really cheap, so I picked up the frame, and then the week after that, I decided to, create a grid that fit into the frame. And then after I created the grid, I didn't really know what to do with it. It sat there for a while, but after a few weeks later, I got my inspiration for the piece. And this piece, like the last one called Bright Eyes, was also inspired by a conflict with a roommate. So, even though I hate roommates and the problems that come with living with other people, I actually got a lot of inspiration from that and learned a lot. So this piece also started out with a disagreement with a roommate, and at the time I was practicing like mindful meditation and working at the Met. I was able to really spend all day in the galleries being mindful and paying attention to what I was feeling and what I was thinking, and it was really eye-opening. So when I came home from work one day and an argument started with my roommate, I was prepared. And instead of reacting and maybe yelling back or, instead of trying to shut him out, I more or less paid attention to the thoughts and the feelings that were arising within me. And, there was just this wave of energy that was, angry and tense, but at the same time, there was part of me that was still and quiet, and it wasn't disturbed by the arguments and the tension. It was almost like a wave moving through water, like ripples that were moving through me. And even though there was this tension and this anger, there was still something about it that, was beautiful in a way. To have that feeling was very powerful. Like anger, I could see why many people get addicted to anger, because it's very energizing. It's very enlivening, and fortunately I was able to be assertive and truthful and resolve the conflict without any problems. But immediately I went into my room to begin drawing this piece, and I already had the grid established, so all I had to do was have one portion of the grid remain intact while another portion of the grid would be distorted, and then create a transition between the distorted grid and the perfect grid. And everyone sees a bird in the contorted area, which is interesting. That wasn't intentional. I was just trying to distort that square as much as I could without while still adhering to the geometry that I had established. So it turned out to look a lot like a bird, which is fine with me. People see birds and turtles and all kinds of shapes going through this. And I ended up putting this up in my kitchen and talking to my roommate about it, and it did help to at least for the moment resolve some of the conflict that we had. But this is another example about how I use art more as a tool for understanding, and how even the most mundane, even annoying circumstances, if you're paying attention to how you feel, you're being mindful, it can yield something that is beautiful. So this piece for me, that's what it represents. That lesson that I learned is that within every moment, even moments that are uncomfortable or tense or angry, moments that you wouldn't otherwise accept or be able to tolerate or navigate, for me, if I'm looking for inspiration, if I'm looking to capture a feeling, like I can withstand any emotion, even if it's negative, so-called negative emotions, are easier to withstand or tolerate or navigate and to actually resolve when seen through a certain lens. So this piece was key to me seeing art as a tool for that, and it's one of my favorite pieces. It's still on display at the museum in a canvas print, so be sure to check it out. The show is going to be up for one more week. It's coming down at September 15th, so make sure you see it before then. And tomorrow night is the artist talk. It will be at 6 p.m. at the Qualia Museum, where I'll be talking about some of the other pieces and giving more of the background and the meaning, and how art can be used as a tool to explore our stories and to explore things and aspects about ourselves that we find hard to look at. So if you are looking for something interesting to do tomorrow night, be sure to come to Qualia Museum as part of the First Friday. I'll be speaking at 6 p.m. and I hope to see you there.